Welcome to Bonesaw Poker. I am Brad. Let's get into it. Check on the river. So I play live 1-2 cash in the Tampa area, mostly at the Hard Rock. And one of the things that I've noticed playing live is that the river goes check way more than it should, in my opinion. And now on the flip side of that is it doesn't seem like we get to the river that much either. That's another video. So what I want to talk about in this video is why does it go check so much and what to do about it. So the 2 trips ago that I was down at the Hard Rock, I had a guy on my left that I noticed after playing for a while, he would just try to get to the river. And he would check back almost all hands, which I thought was strange. I mean, and he made some pretty big folds as well. Like on one fold, he had Jack 9, and he called the turn. He made his straight just with the Jack. The 9 was already on the board, and hoping it would go check. And so he checked it, and the other person jammed, and any Jack makes a straight. But if he had King Jack, he'd have the nuts. So he didn't have the nuts. So the other person jammed, and there was quite a bit of money in there, and he folded. Now, he did that typical where they look at their cards and they want the person next to them to see it, so they can see what a strong fold they made or whatever. You understand the reason behind it. And so I saw he had Jack 9, and so then he goes to make the fold, and by accident the Jack flips over, and the table was shocked. The other guy had 2 pair, so it was a pretty crazy fold, if you ask me. You can get an argument of whether you should call it all in just to chop. That's another discussion as well. But in that situation, I mean, there was so much in the pot, and it was less than a pot-sized bet left behind. I mean, just put it in. But he also got me on one where I had Ace Jack, and I raised it pre 15 bucks, and he was one of the callers, and the flop came out Ace Queen, I don't know, 7, something like that. So I bet, he calls. The turn is a 6, so I'm thinking I'm pretty good. So it's Ace Queen 7 6, and so I fire again on the turn. He calls the turn bet, and now it's a blank on the river. I forget it was 4-2 something. It doesn't matter. It was a complete brick. So I'm thinking I'm pretty good here. And I know this guy just likes to check it back, so I'm going to make him pay. So I fire out 50 bucks. He tanks, he calls, and flips over Queen 6. So he's got 2 pair. Flop second pair and turned 2 pair, so he beat me, which I thought was kind of weird to play Queen 6 offsuit for 15 bucks, but that's live 1-2 for you. So, but he's just trying to get to the river and check back. Now, I noticed too that oftentimes if you're out of position in a hand, and if you check flop, check turn, and you're calling them, it's check call because you got a good hand or you're on a draw, that oftentimes that when you get to the river, you should probably donk, because there's a pretty good chance they're going to check back. Now, you got to play the player in that situation. Like yesterday, when I was at Hard Rock, I was out of position to this lady, and I had the flush draw. She turned the straight, which gave me the flush, and so I checked, she bet, and then on the river, I checked, which normally in live 1-2 I'd probably bet out just to try to get something, but I checked, and she bet 20. And then I just check raised her all in for her last $75. She tank called and lost. She had the straight, I had the flush. So you got to still play the player. Don't do anything, totally broad strokes. But what's your experience with how rivers go? And I think they go check, check way too much. People don't value bet thin enough, and they don't bluff enough either, which kind of tends to lead me to believe that when they do fire money on the river, they can definitely beat top pair. Because otherwise they would just check back. So down in the comments, let me know what you think about that. Also, now let's talk about from a strategy standpoint. If the game you're in, if rivers go check, check a lot, like the guy that checks back rivers all the time, is it actually a horrible strategy to get to the river? If you have a pair, if you have any pair, just get to the river, because if it's going to go check, check, you could beat a smaller pair, you could beat all their draws, their ace high. So is that strategy? I'm not recommending the strategy, but I'm just asking the question is, if the player pool is just going to check back a ton on the river, is it really a bad strategy for the guy to just get to the river? Just keep paying to get to the river, because hey, all you got to pay is a flop bet and a turn bet, and you're making it to showdown. You don't have to worry about a big bet on the river, because you're probably not going to face one. And the few times you do, well, now you got a decision to make. So from a strategy point of view, let me know what your thoughts are on that. Again, I'm not recommending it, but it's an interesting thought. So the other thing with that is, I was on a recent trip, I didn't keep track of it, and maybe one of these days I will, is how many showdowns do you actually get to? Because I noticed on one table when I was playing, and it was wasn't an overly tight table, it was kind of a fun table, and it's kind of hit me after a while. It's like, I can't see anybody's cards, because we're never getting to showdown hardly. And so I don't know if that's kind of usual, unusual. In Live 1-2, again, put that in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well. But let me know what you think about my analysis on the check. I think when you're in position, you need to thin value bet on the river. And that's one of the things that I've worked on recently, is trying not to go check on the river as much and get that thin value bet, because you can definitely make some more money that way. So for Bonesaw Poker, I'm Brad, and remember, everything you want is on the other side of fear.